My name is Caroline. I'm 32, and 3 days ago, my mother told me not to come home for Easter. She didn't say it with anger or even disappointment. Just 5 words, cold and flat. Do not come to Easter. No punctuation. No love. Just a text that confirmed what silence had already hinted at. I was no longer part of the family. I'm standing in front of the house I bought for $900. If you can even call it a house, the rain is light but steady, soaking through the shoulders of my jacket. Water slips down my neck, clinging to the edges of my collar, and I let it. Let the cold settle in. It's late afternoon in rural Oregon, that in-between hour where the sky looks like it's waiting to fall. Gray low. Pressing. The gravel crunches beneath my boots as I shift my weight. The driveway is sloped and uneven, half mud, half broken stone. I pull open the trunk of my car and lift out the folding chair I keep in the back, the one I used to take to the park for reading breaks or long thinking sessions between freelance jobs. It feels heavier today. Heavier because I know I'll be sitting with more than just the cold. I carry the chair to the front of the house and place it in the gravel. My boots sink slightly into the soft earth as I sit. The legs of the chair wobble a little. One of them catches a pocket of mud and tilts. I don't bother adjusting it. The house looms in front of me, a perfect reflection of how I feel inside. Peeling siding roof, sagging on one side, windows boarded up like it's been holding its breath for years. I stare at it and feel nothing. No fear, no pride, just a dull ache where hope used to live. The kind of ache that doesn't shout, it just sits with you quietly until you forget it's even there. It wasn't always like this. Just a week ago, I was sitting at my parents' dining table, eating dry roast and listening to my mother talk about Haley's upcoming retreat, a soul restoration package in Sedona. $18,000 for energy resets, trauma releasing, and guided meditations with a former reality TV guru. My sister nodded along like it was a doctor-prescribed operation. It's important for her healing, Mom had said. She's been through so much. No one elaborated on what Haley had been through. The last I heard, she left her fourth marketing job and was recovering by filming soft-focus YouTube videos about balance and breathing. She had moved back in with our parents a year ago. Never paid rent, never said thank you. Then Dad turned to me. "You said you'd transfer the funds last week. What's the delay?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even look up from my plate. I just said, "I didn't transfer the money. I bought something." The room went still. Cutlery stopped clinking. Haley froze mid-sip her matcha latte, suddenly suspended in mid-air like a scene from a play. My mother blinked once, slow, deliberate. "What do you mean you bought something?" she asked. "I bought a house," I said. "It's a fixer-upper, but it's mine." Haley let out a short laugh. "You bought a dump instead of helping me reset." "I never agreed to fund your trip," I replied. "I just didn't say no." Mom's wine glass clicked against the table as she set it down. "You've clearly chosen poverty. Don't expect us to support your delusions." That was the end of the conversation. Dad raised his hand when I tried to respond. His voice was calm, but the edge underneath cut clean. You want to be on your own, then be completely on your own. The next morning, my name was gone from the family group chat, just like that. No confrontation, no phone call, just erased. A low rumble pulls me back to the present. A delivery truck groans down the road behind me, its tires slapping through shallow puddles. I blink once, then glance at my phone. A new message from Mom. "Do not come to Easter." No greeting, no love, no explanation, just eraser. I don't delete it. I don't respond either. I fold the phone back into my coat pocket like I'm folding away a part of myself I no longer need. Something quiet and loyal that used to believe in second chances. I stare at the house again. It smells like wet wood and mildew from here. Probably mold inside, definitely rodents, but it's mine. No one else co-signed it. No one else will sneak behind my back to take it from me. That kind of ownership, even in ruins, feels like a kind of freedom. A gust of wind picks up. It tugs at the edge of my coat, flapping the hem like a warning. I grip the arms of the chair to keep still. The sky is darker now, thick with the kind of pressure that makes you feel smaller than you are, the kind of pressure that says, this storm is only just beginning. I let my eyes fall shut for a moment. Just a breath. Just long enough to remember how it felt when they turned their backs. It wasn't like a door slammed in my face. It was more like being slowly walked out of the room until one day you find yourself standing alone outside, not sure when the goodbye happened. I open my eyes again. The rain has picked up. My boots are soaked through. My legs are beginning to tremble with the cold. Still I sit. I want to feel this, every minute of it, because this is the moment I know something they don't. They think they've left me behind, but I was never part of what they built. I just kept showing up hoping to be let in. Now, for the first time in my life, I don't want back in, I want out. I reach into the side pocket of my backpack and pull out a ring of old keys. Only one of them matters now. The rusted brass one I picked up from the county office when the sale finalized. I hold it between my fingers. It's heavier than it looks. I stand slowly folding the chair back into shape, water running off the metal frame. My fingers are stiff, my spine aches from the cold. But I walk to the front door. This isn't triumph. This isn't vengeance. It's just the next right thing. I slide the key into the lock. It sticks a little like even the door is unsure about me, but I press forward. It opens. The house smells like damp drywall, and time I sit on the cracked floor of what used to be the living room, wrapped in an old fleece blanket I found stuffed at the bottom of a donation box. The wind slips through the seams in the boarded windows like it's searching for something warmth maybe, or company. I should be exhausted, but I'm not. The body tires faster than the heart. The floor creaks under my weight as I shift. One of the old baseboards groans with age. I look around this broken shell of a home and think not for the first time about how I ended up here. Not the house I know why I bought it, but here. This version of myself. 32. Alone. Holding on to the edges of a life that always felt slightly out of frame. I lean back against the wall paint peeling behind my shoulder and let the memories come. It's my 16th birthday. There's a cake pink frosting store-bought, and someone scribbled "Happy Birthday, Caroline" in blue icing 1. And I've corrected people my whole life, but that day I just stare at it. No one notices the mistake. Haley stands beside the cake, smiling for photos, even though it's not her party. She helped decorate, they say proudly. She picked out the balloons. She's in every photo. Me. I'm in the corner holding the knife to cut the cake, waiting to be seen. The next year, when Haley turns 16, she gets a used Volkswagen wrapped in a red bow. Dad beams in the driveway like she's won a Nobel Prize. "You deserve this, honey," he says, ruffling her hair. "All your hard work." Her GPA hovers in the low C's. I remember because I had a 4.0 that same semester. When I asked about driving school, Dad said, "Maybe next year if things even out." It starts there, I think. Or maybe it started earlier and I was just too young to name it. I remember a photo from a trip to the coast, Haley in the center, holding up a seashell, her smile wide and camera ready. My parents flanking her arms around her shoulders. In the final version, I'm barely visible, just a sliver of my hair at the edge of the frame. I'd been there carrying the cooler and setting up the chairs. I was the one who packed everyone's sweaters because the coast turns cold at night. But when the photo went up on the fridge, no one noticed I wasn't in it. There was the Florida trip, too, the one I didn't get to join because there wasn't enough room in the car. I was 28, not a child, not an afterthought. But when I offered to drive myself and meet them, their mom said it would defeat the purpose of family travel. That was when I started to understand I wasn't excluded for logistics. I was excluded because that's how the pattern worked. Even in school, when I won a statewide essay competition, my parents barely reacted. "Don't gloat," Dad said, "it makes other kids feel bad." But when Haley got voted best hair in high school, they framed the certificate and hung it in the entryway like it was a congressional medal. I used to think if I worked harder, they'd notice me. I tried straight A's tutoring scholarships when Mom wanted help with her nonprofit website. I learned WordPress over a weekend and redesigned it for her. She barely said thank you, but she cried when Haley painted her a mug that said Thorough 1, Mom. That was the rhythm of my childhood, try, fade, repeat. Back in the present, I get up slowly. My knees creak as loudly as the floor. I walk toward the kitchen or what's left of it, a sink with no faucet, a box of rusty tools in the corner, and a fridge that hasn't worked since the Bush administration. I press my hand to the cold metal door and rest there for a moment, letting my head fall forward. I don't cry. That part of me shut off a long time ago. Not because I'm strong, just because there's nothing left to wring out. The thing no one talks about is how much it hurts to be invisible. People assume screaming and slamming doors are the worst kind of pain, but they're wrong. Shouting at least means you're being heard. What breaks you is the silence. The moments no one asks where you've been. The birthdays skipped. The calls never returned. I think about the awards still in a box under my bed, medals and certificates I brought home that no one ever framed. I kept them even when I stopped believing they mattered. Maybe out of spite or hope. Sometimes I'd ask Mom, "Did you see what I wrote in the paper, or I got published again?" She'd nod, half listening, then pivot. "Haley's thinking of starting a blog. You should give her tips." I gave up after a while. Not out of bitterness, just to protect whatever parts of me still felt whole. When you're the child who doesn't make a fuss, people think you don't need anything. They praise you for being low maintenance while pouring all their attention into the ones who demand it, and then they act surprised when you finally walk away. I pull open the drawer of a half-broken cabinet and find an old mousetrap. I toss it into a garbage bag without flinching. I've lived with worse. The house is quiet again. No buzzing heater, no humming fridge, just the occasional whistle of wind through the siding and the low creak of settling wood. It's the kind of silence that makes you wonder if a place has memory, if it can absorb pain and keep it tucked in its walls. I know that feeling. I've been that house. Back when Haley was planning her first vision board retreat, she said to me, "I know you don't really get healing stuff, but some of us need to reset." I remember looking at her perfectly styled, soft voice full of language she learned from Instagram coaches and thinking you were born in the softest room. What do you even need to heal from? But I didn't say that, I just nodded. That's the difference between us. She's been handed peace and still demands more. I've spent my life fighting for an inch of it and learned to carry silence like armor. I sit back down in the living room, the cold biting through the blanket. Now I lean my head against the wall and close my eyes. Sometimes I wonder what it would have felt like to be chosen, just once. To have someone say, "You matter, you belong." Not because I earned it, not because I was useful, just because I was there. I open my eyes again and look at the sagging ceiling. The light from my phone casts a faint glow across the floor. It's uneven and cracked, but it's mine. Being forgotten leaves no bruises, just empty spaces where a name should have been spoken, where a photo should have included your face, where a cake should have had 2 ends instead of 1. But I remember, and I'm done being edited out. The roast is dry, the wine is too sweet, and my mother keeps smiling like we're on the cover of a holiday card. I'm seated at the far end of the table next to the fern that's been dying for the past 6 months, but no one moves it. I don't think they even see it anymore. Just like me. Haley is talking as usual. Her voice floats over the food like a scented candle, soft, sweet, overpowering. And the retreat in Sedona has this sound-healing dome, she says, flipping through a glossy pamphlet. It's supposed to recalibrate your nervous system at the cellular level. My mother nods solemnly as if Haley has announced the cure for cancer. "You need this baby after everything you've done for us." Done for us. I don't ask. I don't even blink. That's the trick. If you ask questions, you're difficult. If you stay silent, you're generous. My father cuts a piece of meat with slow, deliberate strokes. "Caroline," he says, not looking at me, "you said the transfer would happen last week?" It's not really a question. More of a reminder. The kind that carries no edge, but all expectation. I fold my hands in my lap. I feel the cool edge of my thumbnail digging into my palm. I speak clearly, softly. I didn't transfer the money. Silence forks pause in midair. Even Haley stops mid-sip. "I bought something instead," I say, "a house." For a moment, no one reacts. The word hangs there, not heavy, just confusing, as if I've said I bought a volcano or adopted a rhinoceros. Haley is the first to respond. She lets out a short laugh, sharp as a snap. You bought a house? Are you serious? I nod. It's small needs work, but it's mine. Her mouth curls. So you're telling me you spent all your savings on some dump while I'm here trying to reset after a year of emotional labor? You never asked, I reply, and I never agreed. I just didn't say no. My mother's hand tightens around her wine glass. She sets it down with a deliberate clink, the sound more final than a slammed door. You chose to be selfish, she says, not unkindly. That's her gift, making cruelty sound like guidance. Haley's journey has been about healing. She needs space, stillness. You know that. I needed space too, I say, so I found one. Dad finally looks up. His eyes don't hold anger, just disappointment coiled into something quiet. We've always supported you when your car broke down, when you were freelancing and between contracts. And I've always helped. I remind him I've paid for the water heater, the taxes. I even helped cover the refinancing last winter. That was family support, he says, not leverage. I stare at my plate. The meat's gone cold, the carrots are soft. I can feel the ground shifting, but I stay still. Haley leans back, arms folded. This is so on brand. You always act like you're above it all, like money makes you better. I don't rise to it. I've played this game before, when she overspent on a wellness certification and I covered the overdraft. When she broke her lease and needed a deposit. When Mom cried on the phone and said Haley's just not built for this world. Be patient. They've always treated her fragility like a virtue and my stability like a resource. You could have just said no, Haley adds, voice pinched, instead of doing this dramatic, I bought a house performance. I did say no, I reply. You just didn't hear it because it wasn't loud. Mom exhales sharply like she's been holding her breath too long. We're trying to create peace in this house, and you brought tension. I want to say I've brought groceries, repairs, Christmas gifts. I've brought home-cooked meals and quiet understanding. But tension, that's yours. Instead, I sit back in my chair, fold my napkin, and slide it beside my plate. I think I'll head out. My father's voice comes low. If you walk out tonight, Caroline don't expect things to go back. I pause in the hallway coat over one arm, the scent of stale lavender and overcooked roast trailing me. I don't expect anything I say. That's the point. I drive home in silence. No music, no podcasts, just the sound of my tires on wet asphalt. My hands don't shake. My throat doesn't close. I just feel untethered. It's not until I get home that I hear it. A single ping from my phone. I glance down. Removed from family group chat. No explanation, no words, just the sound of a door clicking shut in digital form. I stare at the screen for a long time. My thumb hovers over the thread, then drifts away. I don't delete it. I just let it sit there. A quiet receipt. The next morning, no one calls. There's no sorry about last night, no messages asking if I got home safe. Later that week, I get a forwarded email from my cousin, a save the date for Haley's departure ceremony. A spiritual goodbye to her former self. It's scheduled during Easter weekend. She'll be flying out with a private yoga coach and her emotional accountability partner. It costs more than I made last quarter. I close the email and go back to scrolling real estate listings. I haven't bought the house yet, but I know I will not to prove anything. Not to spite them. Just to choose something they'll never touch. 1 week later, I wire the $900 I drive out to the address the same day. It's worse than the photos. The porch slants, the siding peels like old wallpaper, but the deed has only one name on it, mine. I sit in my car a long time before getting out. Back at the dinner table, when I said the words, I bought a house, I wasn't asking for applause. I wasn't expecting pride. I just wanted them to see me, not as a wallet, not as a backup plan. As someone who for once chose herself. The screen door scrapes against the threshold like it's being dragged by something heavier than me. I step inside holding my breath, though I'm not sure why. The air smells like mildew and wet wood, sharp and musty like the inside of an old coat left too long in the rain. It wraps around me, clinging to my sleeves, settling into my hair. I pause in the doorway, blinking against the dim light that spills through the bare front window. No curtain, no lamp, just a dusky sliver of late-day sun pushing its way through a crack in the plywood. I pull the door closed behind me, the latch clicking with a sound too loud for this kind of silence. This is it, my house. The walls are streaked with stains, water damage maybe, or just time having its say. The linoleum floor is cracked in long diagonal lines like a spiderweb after a storm. There's no furniture, just dust and echoes. But I know where the kitchen is supposed to be. I head there first, my boots leaving faint prints in the grime. I set down the cardboard box I've been carrying. It's small, everything I brought fits inside, one faded curtain I saved from college, a chipped blue mug, a handful of tools I don't really know how to use but kept anyway. I place the box on the floor and crouch beside it, rubbing my hands together for warmth. The cold is different here. Not just in the air, but in the bones of the place. It leaks through the gaps around the window frames and the seams of the floorboards. Still, there's a strange kind of peace in it, a stillness, like the house knows it's broken and isn't trying to hide it. I pull the curtain from the box. It's wrinkled and soft from years of storage, the floral pattern faded but familiar. I remember hanging it in my first off-campus apartment back when I thought every small thing I owned could become a piece of something permanent. I grab the step stool from beside the box and set it near the front window. It wobbles slightly when I climb on one leg shorter than the rest, but I steady myself with a hand against the wall. I try to wedge the curtain rod into the window frame, but the wood splinters beneath my fingers. The bracket slips, the rod tilts, then everything clatters to the floor in a burst of metal and fabric. I sit down hard on the stool laughing, not because it's funny, but because it's absurd. This is what I bought instead of peace and approval. This is what I chose over family invitations and holiday seats. And still somehow it feels like the first honest thing I've had in years. My phone buzzes in my coat pocket. I pull it out expecting silence or more frost, but the screen lights up with a voice message from Aunt Lynn. She's the only one who never cut me off, the only one who didn't pretend my absence made things easier. I tap to play the message. Her voice crackles slightly familiar and warm like wool over bare skin. Hey baby, just wanted to check in, I heard. Well, I saw you weren't in the family chat anymore. A pause, then softer. I want to tell you something and I hope you really listen. You were never the problem, you just weren't. Haley, that was your only crime. I close my eyes, phone still pressed to my ear. I let the words settle into me like warmth. I know it hurts, she continues. I know it does. But here's the thing. When they need something, they'll come back around. They always do. Don't forget how this felt. Caroline, don't you dare forget. The message ends, I don't cry. Instead, I sit in the middle of the kitchen holding the curtain in my lap like a small animal folded and soft. I look down at the print, once blue and gold, now mostly gray. The pattern is still visible if you squint, still there beneath the fading. Like me. I think about what Aunt Lynn said about not forgetting, not in a vindictive way, just in a way that keeps you anchored, because forgetting would mean slipping back into old roles. The quiet one, the helper, the dependable disappointment. They erased me with a whisper, not a scream. That's what made it so easy for them. No fight, no scene, just silence. But this place, this broken, freezing, half-rotted house, it doesn't ask me to be anything. It doesn't care how I got here. It doesn't need me to apologize for not being enough. I look around the kitchen. No appliances, no cabinets, just exposed studs and a rusted faucet. Still it's mine in a way nothing else has been. I unfold the curtain again and trace the edge of the fabric. There's a tear in the corner from a time I tried to hang it over a crooked rod in a student dorm. I never fixed it. Maybe I liked knowing that something could be torn and still hold shape. I set the curtain aside and stand. My hands are cold, but my chest feels warmer now. Not safe, not yet, but solid. There's no applause here, no validation, no one telling me I made the right choice. But the silence feels different. It's not absence, it's space. I take out my phone again and scroll to the old family thread. It's still there. Even though I've been removed, I tap it open. Easter plans have been posted. Haley sent a playlist link. Mom added a picture of deviled eggs. No one mentions me. I don't expect them to. I start a new thread. Just one contact, Aunt Lynn. I type moved in today. Cold as hell, but the roof held. She replies in seconds, proud of you. Call when you can, I'll send chili. I smile just a little and slide the phone back into my pocket. Then I grab the mug from the box, rinse it with bottled water, and set it on the counter. I have no stove, no kettle, but tomorrow I'll fix something. One thing, maybe the step stool, maybe the drafty window. That's the plan, one thing a day, until this place, this life holds warmth again. For now, I wrap the curtain around my shoulders and sit back on the stool. It still wobbles, but I stay balanced. The house groans in the wind, but it doesn't creak at me like a stranger anymore. It's not much, but it's a beginning, and beginnings are allowed to be messy. So am I. I hear the knock just after sunset. It's soft at first, like someone uncertain of their welcome. I'm in the back room, sorting through the box of mismatched screws and rusted tools, trying to figure out which ones might still be useful. I pause dust on my fingers, my breath catching in the chill. No one knocks here, not yet, not ever. I walk to the front door, slowly brushing my hands against my jeans. When I open it, Haley is standing on the porch, her cream coat cinched perfectly at the waist. Hair swept up in a loose knot like she's about to step onto a movie set. Behind her, the wind presses through the pines, sending wet leaves tumbling across the broken steps. "Hey," she says, smiling like she hasn't ghosted me for 2 months. I don't move, I wait. She shifts her weight onto one foot, pressing her palms together as if praying. So, the housing at the retreat fell through plumbing issues mold apparently, and I was already halfway here, and well, I figured you might not mind if I crashed for a night just until they sort things out. She's rehearsed this. Every word is soft humble wrapped in sugar. I look at her, then past her at the empty driveway. You took an Uber out here. She nods, kind of a last-minute scramble. I step aside without speaking. She breezes in, already shedding her coat and commenting on the air. This place has character, she says, eyeing the exposed beams. Very rustic retreat meets indie hardship doc. I let her settle into the living room, if you can call a floor with one folded blanket and a second-hand lamp a living room, and go back to the back of the house. I lie awake that night listening to her soft movements, the clink of her skincare bottles, the whisper of slippers on bare wood. It's like letting a ghost sleep under your roof. Familiar but wrong. The next morning, I wake to the hum of electricity I haven't heard since moving in. I sit up fast, heart kicking in my chest. It's not the fridge, not the heater. It's too high-pitched. I walk toward the sound, the floor cold under my bare feet. And then I see it. My kitchen barely. A kitchen has been transformed into a set. A ring light glows by the window, casting soft white across the yellowing counter. My chipped blue mug has been replaced with a tall, curated display of oat milk, granola bars, and a candle I don't own. Haley sits at the edge of the counter, full face of makeup, hair curled and glossy, smiling into her phone. My morning, my kitchen, she says in a breathy tone, waving at the screen. Say hi to my angels, we're doing something really meaningful today. I wanted to show you guys where my sister, bless her heart, has been living. It's a bit of a fixer, but we love a transformation, don't we? She tilts the camera to the stained linoleum, the cracked wall, the broken drawer she propped open for dramatic effect. This fridge hasn't worked since like Y2K, she jokes, kicking it lightly. And don't get me started on the smell. Honestly, it's giving generational trauma. I freeze just outside the frame, heart pounding not from shock but from the clarity that slides in like a blade. She's turned my life into her content. A chime dings from her phone, donations. I can see them popping up like praise confetti, little hearts, comments. You're such a good sister. This is what real family looks like. Sent $25 odd, hope she gets back on her feet. Another line rolls across the screen. Is that really your sister? She looks like a squatter. Haley doesn't blink. She pans the camera toward me. Yep, she says cheerfully. That's her. Look at those slippers. It's giving Great Depression chic. That's when something shifts. I walk forward, calm, silent. I reach past the ring light and take her phone from the tripod. The suction of the pop socket pulling free sounds louder than thunder in that moment. She gasps, Hey, what are you doing? I hold the phone flat in my palm, staring at her. You want content? I say, my voice even. Here's your headline, get out. Her mouth opens in practiced horror. I was just trying to help. I thought people could donate, maybe offer resources. It was for you. No, I say, taking a step closer. It was about you, about turning my life into your pity parade. She reaches for the phone. I don't flinch. You mocked me in my own home, I say. You used me as a backdrop that ends now. I hand her the phone like I'm passing off something spoiled. You can go. She gathers her things with the speed of someone who's been caught without a script. Her makeup bag zips shut, the oat milk disappears into her tote. She throws on her coat and slings her purse over one shoulder. At the door, she turns eyes wide, voice trembling just enough for her imagined audience. This is what I get for trying to be a good sister, she says, like we're still rolling. I don't respond. The door shuts behind her with a hollow click. Silence returns, not peaceful, not yet, but honest. The ring light still glows forgotten in the corner. I unplug it. The hum dies. I lean against the counter, hands braced on the edge. My fingers tremble, not from fear, but from fury, from finally having said the thing I've been rehearsing for years without knowing it. They've used me in different ways, all of them, quietly, elegantly, with just enough plausible deniability. But this was public, and somehow that makes it easier to end. I walk back to the spot where she set up the transformation station. The granola bar wrapper she left behind flutters on the floor. I pick it up and throw it away. Then I sit breathing. I'm not a brand. I'm not a redemption arc for someone else's platform. I'm not the shadow in their spotlight. This is my wrecked, quiet, half-healed life, and I get to decide how it's seen or not seen at all. The sunlight shifts through the cracks in the boarded window. Dust floats in lazy spirals through the air. I sit in it, legs folded beneath me, feeling the first hint of something new. Control. Not revenge, not even justice, just a stillness where someone else's noise used to be. That night, I lie awake in the dark, the glow of my phone, the only light in the room. The silence feels heavier than usual, the kind that comes after exposure, after someone has carved your name into the world without asking. I scroll through Haley's GoFundMe page again. Help My Sister Rebuild, that's the title. My face is the banner, captured mid-step outside the house, a garbage bag in my hands. In the second photo, I'm curled on the couch, wrapped in the quilt Aunt Lynn gave me. There's a caption beneath it that stops me cold. My baby sis has been through so much. Help me give her the life she deserves. Raised $18,340. Recipient Haley Emerson business PayPal account linked to her wellness collective. I stare at the page, letting the numbers blur. My jaw clenches, but I stay still. I don't yell. I don't throw the phone. I just sit in the wreckage of someone else's fiction, watching strangers praise her for her generosity. You're such a good sister. I sent $50 hope she finds healing. This broke my heart. I want to scream, but it wouldn't change the story they already believe, so instead, I take a slow breath and do something simple. I screenshot it. Then I scroll down, click, click. Every comment, every image I record, a screen capture of the entire campaign top to bottom, and save it into a new folder. Receipts, Haley GFM. The file name makes me pause. Receipts. It feels like a joke, something people say online with a smirk. But to me, it's a weapon. Not for vengeance, for truth. An hour later, as I'm cataloging another batch of images, a new message pops up on Instagram. A name I don't recognize. Illegal Tessa Co. I almost ignore it, but something in me, a flicker I haven't felt in weeks, says open it. Hey, I saw the GoFundMe. You didn't authorize that, did you? I freeze. The message sits there simple and quiet, but loaded. I tap to reply, no, I didn't. The response comes quickly. I'm a paralegal Colorado certified. This looks like civil exploitation, possibly wire fraud depending on how it was framed. Want to talk receipts? My hand trembles slightly, not from fear, from the way clarity cuts after weeks of confusion. I reply yes. Tessa writes back with instructions, simple, clear. Start with full-screen recordings of the page. Capture timestamps, archive donation records if visible. Don't confront her publicly yet. Trust me. She gives me an email address, a secure upload link, and a document outlining basic terms. She's professional, fast, calm, exactly what I'm not yet. I reread her messages and exhale slowly. For the first time since Haley knocked on my door, I feel the floor beneath me stop shifting. I get to work. In the morning, I'm still at the table. My coffee is cold, my neck stiff, but my desktop is a map of truth, folders named, and backed up files timestamped Haley's livestream clips, her Instagram captions about transforming lives. The Wellness Business PayPal account listed as the recipient on a personal hardship campaign. Every image of me used without permission. Every word she used to shape a narrative I never consented to. I email the compiled folder to Tessa. Her reply comes within an hour. You've got a solid start. The use of your likeness and story without permission, especially for fundraising, could fall under civil misrepresentation, and if donations crossed state lines, even more. Let's keep gathering. I lean back, eyes burning from hours of blue light. The tension in my chest hasn't vanished, but something else is rising underneath it. Resolve. I switch my phone to Do Not Disturb, set the ring light. Haley left out by the trash bin, and start compiling more evidence. I scroll through her stories. There's a new one, her driving away from my house, soft piano music playing in the background, the caption. Sometimes people just want to stay mad. I'm doing what I can. I save that too. That night, I open our last text exchange. She hasn't said a word about the fundraiser. Not one. I check the campaign again. Still live, still accepting donations. And still using my name. I record a video message for Tessa walking through the entire timeline. The arrival, the live stream, the posts. I speak clearly without crying. My voice shakes once, but I steady it. I've told my story before, just never like this. Not to someone who sees it as evidence. By midnight, I've sent everything. Tessa replies the next morning. Let's prep a timeline. This isn't over. I print a screenshot of the GoFundMe page and tape it to the wall beside the cracked kitchen window. Next to it, I add a sticky note. Start here. Later, I scroll through comments on Haley's latest post. The top one reads, You're a saint. Thank you for sharing her story. Below it, someone asks, Is your sister okay? Haley responds, She's getting there, thanks to all of you. I don't reply, I just take another screenshot. When I lie down that night, I feel a strange lightness, not happiness, not peace, just a sense of direction. I used to think dignity was something other people gave you when they respected your silence, acknowledged your boundaries. But now I understand dignity is what you reclaim when they try to take it from you. Haley built a platform on my back, but I still know where the real foundation is. And I've got the receipts. I sit on the edge of my couch laptop, open mug of black coffee resting beside me. The screen glows in the early evening light, casting soft shadows across the bare floor. There's no music, no background noise, just the steady hum of anticipation. Haley's live stream is about to begin. The banner at the top of the screen reads, Healing starts with Family Live Q&A with Haley Emerson. Her face appears a moment later, bright, polished, professionally lit. She wears a flowy beige blouse and soft waves in her hair, styled to look effortless. Her voice comes through smooth and practiced all softness and faux sincerity. Hi, beautiful souls, she says, smiling into the lens. Thank you for showing up tonight. I know there's been noise lately, but I believe in turning pain into purpose. My fingers tighten slightly around the edge of the mug. Behind her, I can see the stage, small, tasteful 2 chairs set for conversation, a potted plant, a digital projection that cycles through stock images of candles and mountain sunrises. She goes on, This platform has always been about healing. And yes, my family's journey has been complicated, but that's why this work matters. I glance at the time, 7:08 p.m. At 7:15, the courier should arrive. I refresh the HOA email on my phone, not because I need to read it again, but because I like seeing it. The subject line is still there, clean and undeniable. Urgent misrepresentation of address for grant submission. The body of the email is even more direct. Haley had submitted an application using my property address, claiming she was housing a displaced sibling in emergency conditions to secure funding through a neighborhood revitalization initiative. Attached were PDFs, copies of the form's screenshots of her social posts, and the grant summary language citing at-risk family housing. I sent the documents to Tessa immediately. She wrote back one line: "We're ready." Back on the live stream, Haley is answering a question from a viewer. "How did you stay strong when people doubted your intentions?" She breathes deeply, placing a hand on her chest. "I remembered that truth doesn't need to shout, it just needs to keep standing." My phone buzzes once a text from Tessa Courier confirmed walking in. I exhale quiet. On screen, Haley turns slightly toward the edge of the stage, smiling at someone just off camera. Then we all see him. The courier steps into view, black suit envelope in hand. No fanfare, no announcement. Haley's smile wavers. She reaches out automatically, still in performance mode, but when she opens the envelope and reads the first line, her posture shifts. The camera captures it clearly. Her eyes dart to the crowd, then to the side of the stage. She mouths something to a crew member. The projection behind her glitches, slightly flickering from a waterfall scene to a plain desktop background. The audio drops. Then the live stream cuts. No sign-off, no music, just an abrupt stop. I don't move. I just sit in the silence that follows, letting the stillness spread. 3 minutes later, Twitter explodes. Clips of the courier's arrival, zoomed-in shots of Haley's expression as she reads the papers, a recording of her voice earlier in the stream talking about truth standing tall. Someone reposts it with the caption, "Truth just served you papers, babe." I scroll slowly, watching the narrative shift in real time. Reddit threads pop up. Cease and desist, live influencer called out for fake fundraiser screenshots of the GoFundMe next to donation receipts. TikToks with side-by-side comparisons of her posts and the address she falsely cited. I refresh again. A new message in my inbox. From HOA Compliance Committee subject, Caroline Hale official review request, follow-up. I open it. They've attached more documentation records of Haley's communications with the grant administrator, where she referred to me as unhoused, nonverbal, and currently dependent. They ask me to confirm whether I was aware of any such claims. I reply within minutes. I was not aware all claims were made without my knowledge or consent. Attached is my property deed and residency verification. I attach the PDFs, then sit back. It's not satisfaction I feel. Not glee, just a quiet alignment, like puzzle pieces finally clicking into place. I go back to the live stream thread. A clip from earlier is trending now, where Haley says, "My sister and I have come so far. She trusts me to share her story." Below it, someone's written, "Y'all sure about that?" I close the laptop. The house is dim, quiet. My curtain sways slightly in the breeze, sneaking through the window frame. I walk to the wall where I've taped the printouts, the GoFundMe, the screenshot of her post, calling me unstable but inspiring, the HOA complaint header. One by one, I glance at them. I don't need revenge. I don't need apologies that only come when caught. What I need, what I have now, is proof. Not just for others, for myself. That I didn't imagine the manipulation. That I wasn't overreacting. That silence can be a record, but it's not the only one. Tonight, Haley's mask cracked in front of hundreds, maybe thousands. But I don't celebrate that. I just note it. Quietly. I pour myself a fresh mug of coffee and step outside onto the porch. The planks are uneven, but the air is cool and still. Somewhere down the road, someone's porch light flickers on. Inside, my phone buzzes again. Another news alert, a blog post about influencers misusing platforms. Her name is in the headline now. I let the phone buzz. The porch creaks beneath my heel as I shift my weight. The stars are just beginning to show above the tree line, one by one. No applause, no announcement. Just appearing. I sip my coffee and watch them blink into the sky. The rosemary has started to take root. I brush the soil gently back around the base of the stalk, my fingers damp with morning dew and compost. The smell rises up earthy clean and just a little wild. It's my favorite scent now, not because it's fancy or rare, but because it means I stayed. It means something grew. It's been a month since the live stream cut out and the emails started coming, since the HOA sent their formal apology and confirmed they were reviewing Haley's funding misuse, since her face disappeared from the fundraiser and the page quietly went offline. None of it felt like a win, but it did feel like space opening up inside me and around me. Now, most mornings start like this dirt under my nails. Sunlight just peeking through the pine trees and the sound of my own breath as I plant water-pull weeds. The house still leans slightly, the porch still creaks under the third step. But it feels different. It feels like mine. There's a wooden planter box under the front window, half sanded, where I've tucked in mint and chives, plus a single sprig of lavender I found half off at the garden center. It looked half dead then, too, but now it's trying little green buds curling upward, reaching for warmth. I get it. The porch has a fresh coat of paint, pale gray. I did it in patches over 2 weeks, each time the sun held long enough for the surface to dry. I didn't rush. I didn't try to finish it in one go. That was part of the healing, letting the pace be slow, letting it take the time it needed. Sometimes the neighborhood kids stop by with chalk. I don't know their names yet, just bits and pieces. One of them calls me Garden Lady, which I like better than Miss or Ma'am. They draw suns and crooked hearts and shaky letters on the walkway, filling the cracks with color. Yesterday, one of them drew a giant yellow sun with eyes and a smile so wide it curved over 3 paving stones. It's still there this morning, faded but bright right at the edge of the rosemary bed. I pour water from the metal can I found at a thrift store, the handle wrapped in twine. It leaks slightly from the bottom, so I've learned to tilt it just right. My hands are steady now, not in the way of someone hardened, but in the way of someone who's finally not flinching. The phone buzzes once tucked in the back pocket of my jeans. I don't reach for it right away. Instead, I finish watering the mint. Then I wipe my hands on a towel slung over the railing and sit on the top porch step where the paint's already chipped from someone dragging their feet. Mine, probably. The sun is warm, the breeze cool, a balance I hadn't realized I missed. I take out the phone and check the message. It's from Haley. Hey, things have been rough. Any chance I could crash with you for a bit, just till I figure things out? I read it twice, slowly. There's no apology, no acknowledgement, just a familiar tone, soft urgency wrapped in unspoken expectation. It's the voice I've heard since childhood, the same voice that turned my quiet into agreement that assumed space would be made simply because she asked. But this time it lands differently. It doesn't sting. It doesn't rise up in me like anger. It just settles. I glance toward the herb bed. A bee hovers near the lavender, circling once before dipping low. The chalk sun smiles up from the path. I think of the sticky note still taped inside the front door, the one I stuck to the back of a photo frame months ago. The note says, "This is not who I am." And it's true, I'm not the silence anymore. I'm not the fallback plan. I'm not the open door they count on to never lock. I'm the woman with her hands in the soil who knows what grows when left alone. I open the reply window and type slowly, deliberately. There's no space for lies here anymore. I wish you peace. I hit send. The message leaves with a soft whoosh, and then the phone is quiet. I don't wait for a response. I tuck the phone back into my pocket and stretch my legs out along the porch. One of the kids left a pink piece of chalk beside the step. I pick it up, turn it in my fingers, then draw a small line along the edge of the top stair, just a dash of color fading against the gray. I think about all the things I thought I needed: the family approval, the seat at the table, the message saying, "We're proud of you." None of it ever came. And now I'm glad. Because if they had said it back then, I might have stayed small. I might have bent again. I might have kept making myself quieter so they'd stop being uncomfortable. But I didn't. Instead, I chose this broken, stubborn little house. I chose mornings with cracked mugs and mismatched tools. I chose the smell of rosemary and the sting of cold porch boards against my legs. And somehow it made me whole. From the street, I hear laughter, the kids again racing past with chalk-streaked palms and wild voices. One of them stops just long enough to wave. "Hi, Garden Lady." I wave back. The sun sits high now, casting long shadows from the railing. The breeze moves through the trees in waves, brushing over the roof like a hand smoothing hair. Inside the kettle whistles, I stand slowly stretching and head in. The sticky note by the door catches my eye again. It's yellowed now, the ink slightly smudged, but the words are still there. This is not who I am. And just below it, scribbled in new ink, I've added a second line. But this is who I'm becoming. I make tea. Sit by the window. Watch the chalk melt slowly under the afternoon sun, not disappearing, just blending in. Like something finally settling where it belongs. Caroline's story reminds us that not all betrayals are loud and not all strength is visible. Sometimes the deepest wounds come from being quietly erased, from being the one who never needed much and so was never truly seen. But in that silence, there is also power. In choosing herself in buying a broken house no one wanted, Caroline found something her family never offered her: peace on her own terms. This was not about revenge, but about reclaiming the space to belong to herself. If you have ever felt like the quiet one, the overlooked one, know this. Your value was never based on their attention. It was always yours. If this story moved, you take a moment to leave a comment or share your own experience below. And if you want more stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe. Your voice matters here.